What's up, everybody? Good Monday morning. It's time once again for JT's Bang Bang Plays. We've got a 6-game slate on Monday night, but first I want to start with something I talked about on the video that I do every Sunday night for the Mayo Media Network. It's presented by Prize Picks. If you're not watching that, you should be. I talk about Prize Picks for the day, a little bit of a recap of what happened in Major League Baseball during the week, and then both pitching and hitting options and some bets for daily fantasy sports and sports wagering. But I want to start with something I talked about during the recap portion of that video, and it focused on the no-hitters this year. 6 no-hitters so far, 7 if you count Madison Bumgarner's, which Major League Baseball should, because, hey, if it's on the schedule and it counts and you throw a no-hitter, then it should be a no-hitter. But anyway, the bottom line is 6 no-hitters so far this year, and everyone's wondering why. What's happening? Is it guys throwing harder? Is it launch angles? Is it more strikeouts? Is it the dead ball? And coming home from one of my own baseball games, yes, we won, thank you for asking, I did turn on the ESPN Sunday Night Baseball broadcast on the radio, and they were able to fill me in on a little tidbit that I've been looking for since the beginning of the season. Now, we already know that there were 5 humidors employed throughout Major League Baseball. If you're not familiar with the concept of what a humidor does, it essentially keeps the baseball moist. So it prevents it from losing a little bit of weight, losing a little bit of density, and becoming essentially a faster, farther flying projectile. And the reason why this started was in Colorado, Coors Field. Obviously, you have the altitude there, and the ball just was flying out of the park. It still continues to fly out of the park there at a pretty good clip, but a little bit less since they installed a humidor, which more or less makes the game a little bit more fairer for pitchers. And since they did that, they then installed it over the course of the last couple of seasons in Arizona, in the desert, where they sometimes have the roof open and the ball has a tendency to fly there. And then from there, they installed it in Seattle, in T-Mobile. They installed it in Citi Field and in Boston in Fenway Park. And I learned before the season that they were installing humidors in 5 additional parks throughout Major League Baseball, but it was a secret. They wouldn't tell anyone. You couldn't find out where these new parks were. Well, on last night's broadcast, they said because they were in St. Louis, and they talked about the impact of the humidor and the fact that this year, Major League Baseball had installed humidors in St. Louis, in Houston, in Miami, in Toronto, and I'm guessing that's going to be the Sky Dome when they eventually get into Toronto, and in Texas at Globe Life Field, which the ball, when the roof is closed, last year when the roof was closed, didn't really fly there. There was reduced offense there as it was, and this year we've seen even more reduced offense, at least anecdotally. So, you have 6 no-hitters this year. Well, Joe Musgrove and Corey Kluber in Texas. Globe Life Park, Globe Life Field, a humidor stadium. You've got John Means and Spencer Turnbull just last week in Seattle, T-Mobile, humidor park. Now, I can't help you with the Wade Miley no-hitter in Cleveland, but then you also have the no-hitter that was Madison Bumgarner's of the 7-inning variety. Obviously, that's going to reduce offense. And then one other no-hitter this year, the Carlos Rodon no-hitter in Chicago, where the temperature was 45 degrees. So, what do we have to say about reduced offense when 4 of the 6 no-hitters occur in humidor parks? Well, for us as daily fantasy players, it's something we need to be aware of and something we need to account when we're thinking about looking for outlier offensive performances, which is what we should be doing every night in daily fantasy sports. So, once again, the 10 parks that have humidors, if you're taking notes, write this down, and you should be. This year, Houston, Texas, Miami, St. Louis, and Toronto once they get to the Sky Dome. The humidors that already exist, Colorado in Coors Field, Arizona, Boston, New York Mets, where Colorado plays tonight, and Seattle. So, keep that in mind moving forward. We'll be talking about it, and we're actually going to be digging a little bit more into just this small sample size of statistics this year to see what impact those humidors have had in those stadiums. Now, for tonight, 6-game slate Monday night. I'm going to give you a couple of pitchers that I'm looking at and then move on to the offenses. At the top of the line here, You've got Brandon Woodruff against a red-hot Padres team. You've got Blake Snell in that same game against the Milwaukee Brewers. And then you've got Lance Lynn and John Means. Lance Lynn at home against the Cardinals. John Means going into Minnesota to take on the Twins. Out of these four pitchers, as it stands right now, my favorite is Blake Snell. He got on track again. It was against the Rockies at home. But on the season, he has a 33% strikeout rate. And the Brewers over the last couple of weeks, a 26% strikeout rate against left-handed pitching. And really no answers against left-handed pitching. I think we're going to see them be much more improved against right-handed pitching, but barely any run creation and an 8.9K on DraftKings. I like Blake Snell a lot. Moving on and trying to find a lower-priced pitcher, I'm not sure who's starting for the Mets. If it's David Peterson that ends up getting the start, they are facing the Rockies in the Rockies' first game out of Colorado. It is another Humidor Park. So I will have interest in David Peterson, but for now, depending on how ownership goes, I do have interest in his mound opponent, Austin Gomber. Gomber with a 24% strikeout rate on the season. Look, this Mets offense is just beleaguered with injuries. They've got Cameron Maybin, who they signed off the street, hitting in the 3 or 4 hole, and then really single and double A players down towards the end of that lineup. James McCann should be in there tonight. He may be one guy just because he's a catcher, and the only thing he can really hit is left-handed pitching. Maybe you could take a look at him, but outside of that, I like this matchup for Austin Gomber at 5.6K on DraftKings. The other pitcher I think you can look at in this range is Frankie Montas at 6.2K on DraftKings, taking on Seattle in Oakland. It's a pitcher's park. Seattle with the worst advanced metrics against right-handed pitching over the last couple of weeks of any team on the slate. So not a friendly park, a team that's really struggling to get any offense going. And Frankie Montas at just 0.62 is probably his lowest price point in a couple of seasons. So I think that makes a lot of sense. You could also pair up the way that the pricing works, two of these more expensive pitchers, but for now, those are the guys that we're going to focus on, Blake Snell and Austin Gomber. Now, looking for offense. We have a number of offensive spots, but I'm going to start with one that I think, as of right now, there's a couple of things. One, it projects to be low owned. Two, we do have to watch the weather here. It is projected to have some sporadic thunderstorms in Minnesota this evening, but I really do like these Twins against John Means. John Means, look, showed that he has a lot of talent. There's no question about that. And he got off to a really hot start this year through the no-hitter in Seattle. Of course, we just talked about Seattle being more of a pitcher's park. Then he went into Citi Field, had a decent game there, but not as good as the no-hitter against Citi Field, another Humidor Park. Then he goes into Baltimore, takes on a Tampa Bay team that was starting to get hot against left-handed pitching, and he got hit around a little bit. And he goes into Minnesota tonight, and he takes on another team that I think is getting hot here against left-handed pitching. Been a real disappointment to start the season, the Minnesota Twins, but over the course of the last couple of weeks, a 126 weighted runs creation plus metric against left-handed pitching, and I think they are going to put up a ton of runs if this game plays. My two guys that I'm going to be leading with in every lineup where I have Twins is going to be Miguel Sano at 4.5K on DraftKings, and then you can't leave out the bringer of rain, Josh Donaldson, 4.4 on DraftKings. Started the year off with some injuries, but has looked a little bit better of late, and I think this is a matchup he can take advantage of. Another team that I'm looking at that I think is going to be lower owned, at least as of the time of this recording, the Detroit Tigers returning home, taking on the Cleveland Indians and Sam Hentges. Sam Hentges from the left side against a Detroit team that has started to play much better baseball, in particular against left-handed pitching. Sam Hentges with the worst expected ERA on the slate, as well as allowing a slate high 2.93 home runs per 9 innings. So who am I looking at here? What about Robbie Grossman, 4.7K? Look, Robbie Grossman, often forgot about, has drifted around the league, been released and traded by a number of teams, but going through a bit of a resurgence with an over 400 weighted on-base average over the last few weeks here, leading this team out of the leadoff spot. He's 4.7K on DraftKings. And then a guy who apparently has found the fountain of youth with his 2 home runs on Friday night. Yeah, I'm talking about Miguel Cabrera, 3.4K in a first base position that I think is pretty loaded tonight. So I think he's going to be very, very low owned, as he almost always is. And then a guy I like, just the way the DraftKings position eligibility works. The Tigers are rostering 3 catchers on any given slate. And I like the guy who's going to be hitting earlier in the lineup. That's Eric Haas, 3.4K. Some really good hard hit metrics over the last couple of weeks. So Robbie Grossman, Miguel Cabrera, and Eric Haas going to round out the Tigers that I'm interested in for now. Of course, things could change. That's why you should become a member of Run Pure Sports. If you're not, use code RPSHeater25. That's RPSHeater25 for 25% off of your first month's payment. Like and subscribe to this video, and like and subscribe to the live videos. We've got a live show that breaks down every slate: baseball, basketball, football when it's NFL season, golf. We probably have 10 to 15 golf shows a week before a major event or before a major DraftKings event where there's going to be contests. So Run Pure Sports, runpuresports.com. Use that code. Like and subscribe to this video. We've got playbooks, core plays, and a number of other tools to help you in your pursuit of daily fantasy sports. Good luck tonight. Let's run pure.